this side of the camera, warning you to escape severe weather is our highest priority. But escaping grass fires became a common occurrence last year. The fire threat came up most frequently on the weekends, and we talked to former weekend anchor Adam Bennett about the situation.
It always seemed like wildfires struck on Saturday or Sunday, especially the major ones, February 27th, the Memorial Day fires. So the weekends were constantly stressful from the newsroom side of things between February, I'd say, through June or July. Even when those fires didn't materialize, there was still always that threat there. It seemed like from mid-February through the end of the summer, every single day was an extreme wildfire danger day.
2011 became a very unfortunate year due to the weather. We were way too cold in January, and wildfires hit us hard in February. The current drought began in October of the previous year and lasted through all of 2011 with little in the way of relief. Usually in February, storm chasers around here are gearing up to chase tornadoes and hail-producing storms that come to the Texas Panhandle in April and May. They call it chase season, and most of the time, higher daytime temperatures and more moisture from the Gulf translates into a chance for storms several times in a typical week. But usually no one is expecting to chase wildfires, and of course we had more than our fair share in late winter and early spring. Normally in this show we talk about severe weather warnings, but we will add one more to our discussion here, the red flag warning. Chris Martin is back with more.
When it pops up on your screen, the red flag warning will cover the affected counties. Now, this is different than a tornado warning or a thunderstorm warning in that it's not for a particular storm, but for conditions that may arise to spread wildfires very quickly.
Other than a lightning strike in an open field, humans are the cause of most wildfires. We warn mostly about avoiding outdoor burning, which includes grilling in a park, trash burning, and campfires. While a red flag warning is in effect, any flame can be extremely difficult to control. Though we've had a few showers come through in 2012, we're not out of the woods just yet. We talked to National Weather Service Warning Coordination Meteorologist Kristen Scotton about the lingering fire danger for this year.
Well, we did have a fairly wet, above normal December, so that's helped us some, but that didn't last very long. Coming into March, April, May, if we get windy conditions, warm conditions outside, there could be potential for more fires. We really need that precipitation to kick in.
Wildfires are pretty common in a La Nina year, and we stayed in it throughout much of 2011. La Nina starts in the eastern Pacific Ocean, where temperatures start to cool below normal. At the same time, the polar jet stream becomes more variable, pointing towards the Pacific Northwest instead of the Southwest. We miss out on average amounts of moisture due to this. When storm systems do come down, they bring much colder Arctic air to our doors and continued dry conditions. Snowstorms don't come around as often. The opposite situation happens with La Nina's counterpart, El Nino, where we are milder with plenty of moisture. These weather phenomena can last longer than 12 months. Sometimes they last for a couple of years. We were in a La Nina in 2006 during the year's major wildfire outbreak. Before that, we had an even longer La Nina that started in 1998 and didn't end until 2001, where wildfires were the result. Perhaps one of the biggest weather stories of 2011 was the Southeast's tornado outbreak. Morgan Shutters, the newest anchor on Today in Amarillo, comes to us from Joplin, Missouri, where last year's tornadoes had horrific results. Her co-anchor, Nick Lilia, sat down to talk to her about that day.
And now we're sitting here on the Today in Amarillo set. As many of you know, Morgan joined the show back in October, but before that, she was an anchor in Joplin, Missouri, of course, where the EF5 tornado went through. And maybe take us through what exactly that was like.
Gosh, it's hard to explain, Nick, honestly, but I think the biggest thing is that I had no idea a storm of that magnitude had hit the city, let alone just a few blocks from where I lived at the time. I was in my bathtub when it hit, and no TV, no radio, nothing, no connection. I just had heard earlier in the day that the tornado warning would last through about 6 o'clock. So I stayed in my bathtub until then. And when I finally got the radio working after that, I heard that Olive Range line was gone, which is that main road with Home Depot, Walmart. Just to hear that obviously your heart just sinks. The one thing that I really want to pass along to the viewers of the Panhandle is have a weather radio. It's such an inexpensive, easy to find tool to have. Of course, we keep you all up to date with weather right here on KMR. No one should think, oh, our home is immune, our city is immune, because just in an instant it can happen. And I think we only had about 20 minutes warning.
Well, thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick.
While these states were recovering from blow after blow of severe weather, the drought in Texas intensified, encompassing most of the Texas Panhandle. A dominating high-pressure system over the central United States prevented any storms from reaching us and kept the cooler air at bay to our north. We were under a nasty warming trend that culminated in the highest temperature ever recorded in Amarillo. From April to September, 35 high-temperature records were tied or broken for Amarillo alone. Borger and Dalhart and Childress all set new records as well. It was the driest year on record for Amarillo. Total precipitation came to 7 inches. Several cities began counting the days of daytime highs in the 90s or better. Amarillo came up with 50 consecutive days where highs were above 90. Childress ended the summer with 56 days. Then the conversation turned to a number of days above 100 degrees. Temperatures topped out at 100 degrees for 30 consecutive days down in Childress, which nearly beat the old record of 32 days set back in 1943. Back in Amarillo, we hit 109 degrees, which set the new all-time record high for temperatures on June 24th. 2 days later, we broke that record with 111 degrees. With the frequency of spring's wildfires and the extreme heat of the summer, severe weather was pretty scarce around the Texas Panhandle. June the 11th turned out to have the right weather elements for thunderstorms to produce tornadoes. The only tornadoes to touch down in our area last year happened on this date. The skies were filled with supercells over the northeast Texas Panhandle and the eastern Oklahoma Panhandle. A tornado struck north of Tyrone with winds around 90 miles per hour. National Weather Service survey team determined it was an EF1 tornado. 3 other tornadoes came down that afternoon, 1 in Beaver County near Boyd and 2 in Lipscomb County near Follett and Darozette. These did some minor damage to outbuildings and a few barns, but thankfully no one was hurt. Storm chaser Jason Boggs tried to catch up to these storms, and we talked to him about his trip.
Well, when I entered the town of Perryton, the storm structure looked great. I got to about 3 to 5 miles east of Perryton, where I began seeing golf ball size hail on the road. And at that time, I made a report to John Harris and let him know. Yeah, I continued the chase and got to about 15 miles south of Booker, and the storm structure started looking better. And I continued watching the storm for a few minutes, and a very well-developed wall cloud formed. I watched the storm for a little bit longer, and I never did see a tornado or anything, just a well-developed wall cloud. The lighting of the day faded, and that's pretty much when I began wrapping up the chase.
Of course, we have severe weather every year, and it won't be too long until it starts happening more frequently. Next up, we've got safety tips for your family for when the sirens go off or when hail is beating at your door.